Welcome to this Connecticut Main Street Center webinar. My name is Kimberly Parsons Whitaker, and at this presentation we're going to share an introduction to the Connecticut Main Street Center, a definition of the Main Street approach and how it was developed, an example of a Main Street action plan from a startup program, a first-year action plan, and how that was developed. And then we'll explore some recent evolution of the Main Street program in Connecticut in some specific downtowns. So by way of introduction, Connecticut Main Street Center, our role, we are a thought leader and an advocate. We provide tools to communities and to programs to help self-guide, and we offer customized solutions. We help Connecticut create places where people want to live. We assist municipalities and downtown management organizations, small business and property owners to be more knowledgeable. We also help communities understand how to bring about incremental and transformative economic development appropriate to their communities. And we highlight and guide developers toward investment opportunities in Connecticut and in our downtowns. Connecticut Main Street Center is the expert resource for developing and sustaining vibrant downtowns and main streets that fuel our state's prosperity. Our mission is to assess, to educate, to convene, and to advocate to develop and grow downtowns. Our network of communities includes main streets of all sizes, from our small village centers to traditional New England town centers, to our urban downtowns and mixed-use neighborhoods. The Connecticut Main Street network extends throughout our state, and this network includes professionally managed downtowns and neighborhood districts, municipal planning and economic development departments, and 2 regional organizations representing the interests of their many towns. We also have a professional affiliate membership program for industry professionals. This professional affiliate network provides our communities with access to specialized expertise relevant to downtown revitalization, preservation, economic and community development, real estate development, land use, transportation, marketing, and more. At Connecticut Main Street Center, we believe that vibrant and sustainable main streets and healthy communities depend on having this full range of these 6 essential components: a unique sense of place, economic vitality, community engagement and policies that support appropriate growth, equitable places and inclusive practices, sustainability and the protection of natural resources, and connectivity with a focus in downtowns on multimodal transportation. With these 6 components are elements that are necessary, we believe, for a truly vibrant downtown that caters first to the needs of its citizens, as well as to those who may be visiting. These elements are necessary in order to attract residents, visitors, businesses, and investors. So while municipalities and municipal economic development departments are typically focused on business success, attracting new business and job growth, these additional components that you see must work together to ensure sustainable success for downtown. Main Street retail, restaurants, and small businesses won't thrive without people living within walking distance. People won't stroll, shop, and dine without a sense of place, clean and attractive, walkable, and interesting storefronts. And the healthiest communities are those where the community is engaged in determining its future, those that are inclusive and welcoming, and where the environment is a priority and development is appropriate to the setting. So now, how and why the Main Street approach was developed. Historically, Main Street was the center of community life. There were vibrant downtowns with a mix of uses, as you see in this historic photo from Lower Chapel Street in downtown New Haven. There is retail and dining on the ground floor, residential and/or office on the upper floors. Nearby, within walking distance, government and institutions like City Hall, the post office, the library, houses of worship, etc. And in this photo, multimodal transportation. Notice the various transit options just in this photo: streetcar, trolley, auto, bike, people on foot. However, there were focuses and trends that changed the course of our main streets. Number one, these are general, big picture items: land use and regulatory policy. 20th century zoning separated uses, making it in effect illegal to have a mixed use downtown. Originally for public health reasons, the Industrial Revolution contributed to dangerously polluted air and water, no doubt. The unintended consequences of this separation of uses resulted in a loss of vibrancy in our downtowns. Number two, the age of the auto and the accessibility to drive across the country and go places. The National Highway Act of 1956 provided people with the ability to move to the suburbs and to move around all over the place. But many highways cut a swath through our downtowns and our urban neighborhoods, destroying the fabric and the local economies of thousands of communities, and especially, as we now know, communities of color. And number three, the subsequent urban renewal. As people moved to new suburban development, retail followed people. Retail always follows people. In misguided efforts to make downtown more appealing to mall shoppers, decisions were made to demolish and compromise the historic fabric in our downtowns, often to create surface parking lots. Many times because it's part of the American culture that newer is better. So in the late 1970s, the National Trust for Historic Preservation developed a pilot program designed to address the neglect and demolition of historic downtowns. In this pilot program, they discovered that downtowns had lost their value in these four distinct areas. We had lost our economic value, our physical value, our social value, and our civic value. This Main Street approach was developed to address the restoration of these values simultaneously, both comprehensive and incremental. This is intended to be a framework guiding revitalization efforts. Every community and commercial district is different, with its own distinctive assets and sense of place. The Main Street approach provides a practical, adaptable framework for downtown transformation that's tailored to local conditions. So a quick tour through the four-point approach. We start with economic vitality, and it's restoring economic value. It involves diversifying the district's economic base. It begins with working relationships with downtown property and business owners, such as small business support and counseling, technical assistance, and also maintaining valuable business information through inventories. Another aspect of this in the work of a local Main Street program is ensuring the ease of the regulatory process for business and property owners, working with the municipality to make sure that these constituents understand what the regulatory process is. And number three, redevelopment and adaptive reuse strategies for mixed use within your downtown. The design aspect, restoring physical value, includes getting the district in top physical shape, ensuring that downtown is well-planned, well-connected, welcoming, and attractive. So very typically, the design function is about planning, historic preservation, and adaptive reuse. It focuses on pedestrian orientation, wayfinding and signage, a park once and walk culture, clean, well-lit sidewalks and street trees and public spaces, attractive and welcoming storefronts that fit within the context of your unique downtown, and streetscape plans, traffic and parking plans, and master plans for the downtown. Number three, promotion is about restoring the social value of downtown, and it begins with understanding your audience and then creating programming that positions downtown as a destination. So you dig in to understand your market, your demographics, your psychographics, how people behave, and developing your brand. You create or encourage programming that creates a sense of place and brings people downtown through special events, festivals, parades and parties, art walks, historic tours, you name it. That's what's so distinctive and unique about your own downtown. And then you promote the district as a whole, helping businesses understand how they can attract customers through your destination marketing of your downtown. And number 4, organization is about restoring civic value. And that's engaging the community and public and private sector partners in convening and working towards consensus on what the vision is and how you're going to achieve it. Restoring civic value is all about community engagement. You're working to develop public and private partnerships and engaging your local institutions and leaders. So that's a quick run through the 4-point approach. The basic principle of this Main Street approach, as you see, Main Street utilizes a preservation and place-based economic development strategy. The revitalization of your downtown is built around its unique natural and built environment. Now, most communities have plenty of plans and studies, but lack the capacity and organizational infrastructure to implement recommendations. Connecticut Main Street Center advises an organizing structure that keeps you focused, around which your own plan of action is developed. Much like a shopping mall has a management company that ensures its success, downtown needs comprehensive management. This management function ensures that this 4-point approach is being implemented and works to communicate effectively with public and private sector partners. Now, in Connecticut, we have a variety of downtown management models. We have nonprofit Main Street programs, business improvement districts, where property owners elect an additional tax that goes to downtown initiatives, and public-private partnerships. As far as the governing body and how a Main Street organization or downtown organization works, a local Main Street programs board is representative of the community. This aligns the organization with this 4-point approach here. In the startup phase, in the first 1 to 5 years of a downtown management program, this 4-point committee structure is typically grassroots oriented, with volunteers implementing the work of the program. So you have a board, a governing body, you have a downtown manager or executive director, and then this 4-point approach is implemented via committee structure, primarily of volunteers, and that's in the startup phase. We have a number of mature Main Street programs and mature downtown organizations where a higher performing program has been built around partnerships and secured its reputation as an effective downtown management program. So more complex projects are often addressed by professional agencies and organizations working closely with the Main Street program. Volunteers are still deeply involved on a project-by-project basis. So now let's shift into how we develop a Main Street action plan. And this begins with basic strategic planning for downtown. Many of you have been through strategic planning processes before, so you will recognize this process and you'll recognize the language that I'm about to use. It begins with understanding the conditions on the ground. Number 1, understand your market. Start with basic data. Know your numbers, know your demographics, know your target markets. And then develop the vision. What is the community's vision for downtown? A vision declares your intentions for downtown. It helps you identify what does success look like, and it should lead the way to any necessary planning and regulatory changes. Then you're going to analyze your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats through a SWOT analysis. Out of that SWOT analysis, you'll develop your goals unique to your downtown. Always begin with clean, safe, attractive, and fun. Start with the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that's easy, inexpensive, and gets immediate attention. And then from the goals, you develop your projects that advance your goals and speak to your markets and your opportunities. So understanding your market, as I said, it begins with knowing your numbers, getting a handle on your basic data, get a handle on your trade area, your demographics, the lifestyles, the local and regional economic data. Sources that are easily available for you to get this information include the U.S. Census Bureau, state and local agencies, Esri data, and your municipal or regional economic development officials can help. And you can also contact Advanced CT, the CD Data Collaborative, or the Yukon Extension Program for assistance in getting this information. Now from here, going on to vision and the rest of the process, I've chosen to use a specific example of a startup Main Street organization to show their action planning process. It just makes it, I think, a little more tangible. And so as we move on, I'm showing a real life example from Niantic Village back in the early 2000s, 2003 to be specific. Niantic Village, many of you may know it. It's a coastal urban village in southeastern Connecticut in the town of East Lyme on Long Island Sound. The Niantic Main Street program was started by a grassroots core of citizens, including small business owners, historical society volunteers, local citizens who routinely volunteer for everything, you know who you are, and residents, some of whom had second homes in Niantic, but had recently moved there full time. Some realities about Niantic in the early 2000s. There was, at that time, a year-round population of 3,100 that doubled in the summer months. Primarily seasonal businesses and a seasonal business owner culture at that time. They were okay with making money 3 to 4 months out of the year and being closed the rest of the year. Great for them, not great for the economy of the downtown. At that particular time, in the early 2000s, the 1 mile long Niantic Bay Boardwalk was in the planning stages. A popular family-owned multi-screen movie theater was the center of downtown. As I had mentioned, recent new residents that had moved from other places with their own vibrant downtowns who saw potential in Niantic Village and were prepared to get involved. And at that time, this has changed, I'm happy to say, but at that time, a municipal staff that in some cases was a little skeptical and a little guarded about the motivations of this grassroots group. Not at all unusual. That's why building trust and building a partnership with the municipality is so very important if you are starting as a grassroots group of citizens. So, through a focused group model of visioning, the board of this Niantic Main Street program and invited representatives articulated their vision for a Niantic Village. I find this very compelling. Downtown Niantic is an inviting seaside village, easily accessible by car, foot, boat, and train. It is a wonderful place to live, work, and play, where residents and visitors gather for specialty shopping, creative entertainment and arts, gourmet dining, and water activities within a village that has recaptured its historic past. Now, again, this is a vision statement. This is a group of citizens that were committed to working together, identifying what they saw, where they could be, say, in 10, 15 years. So a really good vision statement is well written, it's evocative, it's specific to a unique place, and as I said, most importantly, it declares your intentions for downtown. And I think this vision statement is really outstanding. So in Niantic specifically, with this vision in mind, it was quickly identified that zoning changes were going to be necessary to allow increased residential and mixed use, to allow outdoor dining, and a shared parking agreement with municipal property owners in the village center. So a clear, compelling vision statement is a tool that you can come back to time and time again to ensure decisions that are being made about downtown align with what the community wants. So the next step, as I talked about before, is this SWOT analysis. This is often done in large group settings with breakout groups to help keep things organized. But a SWOT analysis can also be done in separate focus groups or affinity groups over the course of a few days or weeks. When I'm typically facilitating a SWOT analysis, I ask people to be succinct and precise, suggesting their responses be kept to 4 to 5 words. And that's because you're scribing, taking down this information as people are talking. So Niantic SWOT analysis articulated the need for clearer communications about the municipal regulatory and permitting process, the fact that most businesses in the village at that time were seasonal and not part of the year-round economy, and that there was a negative image of the village, as well as a strong group of citizens that saw opportunities and were motivated to work with partners to make improvements. So a quick walk through the SWOT analysis. You're going to start by examining the strengths of your place, of your downtown, buildings, vistas, physical assets, of your community and the region, and the strengths of resources, the people, the institutions, the partners, and potential funding. So you're looking at what are your advantages? What do you do well? Are there local skills and expertise that can be part of the picture? And are there local programs and services? Do you have strong civic organizations that do excellent programs or events? Under weaknesses, we ask that people be honest and be specific. What could be improved? What should be avoided? Are you missing any key skills or competencies? Or do you have a weak or negative external image or self-image? It's not unusual for this to be the longest list in a SWOT analysis. Don't be deflated by this. View it as an opportunity to engage people and an indication that people really do care about the downtown. They may just not yet see how they can be part of changing things for the better. Next step is identifying your opportunities. And now this is the time for the glass half full attitude. Encourage people to be optimistic, but realistic. So what trends can be taken advantage of? That includes changes in markets, changes in government policy, changes in demographic and lifestyle patterns. Can you capitalize on existing and potential assets? Can you expand programs to address critical issues? And can you build partnerships, leverage resources, and build capacity? And then threats. What obstacles are you facing? What's your competition doing? What trends can affect you adversely? Again, thinking about changes in markets, policy, demographics. Again, I'm going to, because various audiences are going to watch this presentation, if you find yourself in the position of facilitating a SWOT analysis, encourage people to be specific, yet as succinct as possible. No storytelling at this point. You want the results of this analysis to speak to your unique place so that you can track positive changes in the future. So using the work that you've done in this SWOT analysis, you're going to start to articulate your strategic goals. The process here, we always talk about the fact that in assisting you in developing your goals, consider strengths that minimize weaknesses, while taking advantage of opportunities to stave off threats. So in Niantic, with the knowledge shared from their SWOT analysis, Niantic Main Street came to consensus on 3 major startup catalytic goals. Number 1, to establish Niantic Main Street organization as the downtown management organization, or the voice for downtown. Number 2, to enhance downtown's image and brand, both their visual image and their market position, their brand. And number 3, to address the seasonal and underperforming business culture to make it a year-round downtown for the community, thus strengthening the local economy. So it's important that your action plan be a balance of projects that are quick, inexpensive, and highly visible, and those that are more complex, more expensive, may require additional capacity. There are any number of formats that you can utilize for action planning, but Connecticut Main Street Center finds this to be a pretty effective format. So you're going to start by listing your goals in the far left-hand column with the 4-point framework horizontally across the top. So there you see on the far left-hand column, up and down, Niantic Main Street's startup goals, those 3 goals. And then the 4-point approach across the top: organization, design, economic vitality, and promotion. Now, as you're about to see, the projects in their action plan appear both under which of the 4-point functions and which goal they relate to. Niantic Main Street's first-year action plan has this good balance that I'm talking about. And I've highlighted a couple of areas here. The projects in blue, this required that the organization get a handle on data, conditions on the ground in their very first year. So inventories, surveys, and some events that really brought people to downtown, and where you can capture demographics from the audience that attend these events. The projects in red required coordination with municipal departments. They include guidelines, streetscape, facade programs, zoning issues. And this was an opportunity to begin to establish trust and long-term relationships with the town staff. And then the projects in orange, in order to establish trust and build relationships with the small business owners, Niantic Main Street kicked off these projects. So they began with merchant mixers and some basic communications, newsletter featuring businesses and their partners, some business networking and training programs, and then creating a retail tie-in event with the movie theater. They were very creative in how they started to act on some of these projects. So from there, let me go back just one sentence. So this is a summary, high-level summary of their action plan for their first year. Each one of these projects then needs to be planned out, work planned out. And so this format, this is a detailed project plan. We've got the project leader at the top, at that time, Jane B. So it was the point person for this specific project, which was establishing the Speakers Bureau. The highlights of this format, moving from left to right. You have discrete tasks, breaking down each project into tasks. The next column, who is responsible for each task. The next column over, your timetable. What's your time frame? Then budget implications, if there are any. Then partners, community partners that can be part of the team. In Niantic, when they established their Speakers Bureau in their first year, they worked with the Connecticut Storytelling Center, which was right in the village, to help coach their board members and their volunteers on being effective storytellers. The next column over, volunteer hours, the required number of hours. It helps set expectations for your volunteers and tracks the time spent on each project. The next column is status of each activity. And then the final column to the right, metrics, how you're measuring results, both quantitative and qualitative. Remember, as you begin identifying projects, a healthy Main Street begins by addressing quality of life issues. So that clean, safe, attractive, and fun. Ensuring that downtown is clean and welcoming. Visual elements and amenities that make people feel welcome. Ensuring a healthy business environment and guiding business owners to the resources they need to be successful. And redefining any public safety issues. This includes inappropriate social behavior, as well as blighted building conditions or trash on the sidewalk. Redefining those as economic development issues. Investment's not going to happen if the district is not welcoming. So then, with this 4-point grid back up, I always like to go through this with a startup program or a community that's beginning to work with us for the first time. Organized under this 4-point grid, identify those organizations and partners in town and in the region that have the capacity to bring people together to address the issues that you've identified. These are generic examples, and your community has these and probably many more. But really sort of brainstorm, sit down and think under economic vitality, who are our partners? Under design, under marketing and promotion, as well as in our efforts to engage the community, who can be helping us. And then The work plan is a means to an end. So you're going to be communicating with stakeholders in order to implement this wonderful action plan that you have, but to tell the story of the revitalization of your Main Street. So if you've completed your project plans, you'll be able to see where you need help. And it's an ideal time to seek out partners and volunteers that can help implement specific projects. And then, of course, using social media, your website, and other local media to get the word out. Ask to be placed on agendas of local civic organizations to engage more partners, and reach out to anchor institutions in the community. If you have a college or a university, community college, or your banks, or your other local institutions. If you are lacking in capacity for initiating a heavy social media presence, little tip right here, engage a social media intern from the local college or even the local high school. They're quite adept at all social media, and a highly qualified young person can help you develop the guidelines as well as the campaigns. So you do want guidelines, social media guidelines, but they can help you walk through that. So some comments here about the evolution of Main Street in Connecticut, the evolution of our downtowns that I've seen in the last few years. A few years ago, we were all obsessed with what millennials wanted. But it turns out that lots of people in all stages of life want what Main Street has to offer. Main streets are walkable, transit bountiful, mixed use and diverse communities that can address many issues at once. These types of diverse communities have also been shown to weather economic downturns far better than single-use communities, creating a win-win for young people, boomers, and local economies. So I'm going to share a few success stories from some downtowns in Connecticut. We're going to start with downtown New Britain, historically known as the hardware city because of its history as a manufacturing center. It's home to a traditional small urban downtown with an adjoining neighborhood known as Little Poland, the city having the largest Polish population in the state. New Britain's downtown has benefited from federal and state investment in the creation of CT Fast Track, the state's first bus rapid transit system. And the terminus of this system is right in downtown New Britain. The city itself has been investing in infrastructure that positions downtown for further investment. Since that time, investor interest in downtown New Britain is on the rise. With a lively arts and culture scene, an ethnically and economically diverse population, and stunning architecture, downtown is ideally situated to bring historic buildings back to life for residential, office, and retail restaurant uses. Mayor Erin Stewart is a millennial in her 4th term as mayor, and she is downtown New Britain's best cheerleader, and she is also very smart about making strategic decisions that benefit the community and benefit downtown. Many of you may have seen the new Beehive Bridge, which is located over Route 72 and connects downtown and Little Poland. It was literally designed on a paper napkin in Mayor Stewart's office. This iconic structure is a visible component of the new New Britain brand. The Raphael building is next door to City Hall in New Britain, just steps away from the CT Fast Track station. The interior apartments are high quality and highlight the architectural elements. Owner-developer Avner Krohn, who's, I believe, on his 7th project in downtown New Britain, has experience in New York City and is engaged in bringing New Britain's mixed-use buildings back to life. Now, based on the economic impact calculator created for Connecticut Main Street Center a number of years ago, the conservative estimate of 16 new residential units in the heart of downtown translates to over $30,000 annually in local spending per household. In this building, on the ground floor, there's 14,000 square feet of retail space, which hosts and can host up to 56 jobs and produces over $4.5 million in sales per year. Downtown Manchester. The Town of Manchester's Downtown 2020 initiative was a 2-year program aimed at increasing vibrancy economic opportunity, and accessibility in downtown through incentivizing private development and carrying out key public improvements. This initiative includes a no-interest loan program that can be used to improve private properties on Main Street, tax relief for downtown property owners, and municipal investment in capital projects. Now, why should a municipality incentivize downtown development? Very simply, downtown is the heart of the community. In downtown Manchester, there are over 200 businesses in that downtown. And there's 1.5 million square feet of space, more than the Buckland Hills Mall, with a high demand for walkable places to eat, shop, and be entertained. And then downtown Willimantic in the town of Wyndham. This is 948 Main Street in Willimantic. We now know it as Cafémantic. But this series of photos, in 1996, this was the Largan building. It previously housed a local radio station and the local office of the Hartford Courant, as well as later on the National Guard recruiting station. In 2006, the building was purchased with intent of redeveloping the building to create an attractive, inviting, traditional Main Street mixed-use space. And this was the design concept in 2006. In 2009, construction. Shortly after this, the owner secured a tenant, a young entrepreneur who was graduating from Eastern Connecticut State University, located right up the street. Andrew Gutt saw the potential of downtown Willimantic and was determined that what everyone needed was a third place, somewhere to go that wasn't home, wasn't the office or school, but a social gathering place. And he opened Cafémantic as a coffee shop. By 2012, 3 years later, Cafémantic was an anchor business in downtown. Now, Andrea has expanded the hours and the menu and hired the former executive chef of Max Downtown in Hartford to create spectacular dishes. Andrew has since programmed many activities at Cafémantic and other places in downtown Willimantic. He redeveloped the land right behind the building to make an outdoor plaza, which hosts dining and movie nights, live music, bow wow brunches for you and your dogs, and more. And in 2016, Andrew purchased the building at 948 Main Street and opened a new business. 750 Main is the location for a movable feast, a catering and event space just up the street. Andrew is still a young entrepreneur who understands that this is incremental work and that it starts with a vision and a ton of hard work and breaking that vision down into an action plan. A few years ago, we engaged a consultant to help us calculate the value embedded in our downtowns, and the results were staggering. We calculated that there is a collective 187 million square feet of vacant and underutilized space locked in Connecticut's downtowns. And we wanted to know what the potential impact would be if this space was fully developed appropriately for our unique main streets in Connecticut. We found that filling these spaces with housing, retail, and dining would generate $1 billion in annual tax revenue statewide. It would create 88,000 new housing units, would house 20,800 new ground floor businesses, and that all of that new development would create over 200,000 new construction jobs and 215,000 new permanent jobs. These numbers mean hope. They mean a reason for young people and empty nesters to stay here. They mean health and vibrancy and things to do, and they mean jobs and prosperity. And Connecticut Main Street Center exists to help communities create these vibrant places. I invite you to check out our other workshop and webinar programs. We have a workshop archive page on our website at ctmainstreet.org. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. Connecticut Main Street Center's founding sponsors are Eversource and DECD, State of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. And our growth partners are Avangrid and the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office. Our educational programs are Main Street Forums for the 21st Century, sponsored by Webster Bank, Avangrid, Farmington Bank Community Foundation. And we have corporate investors, very important corporate investors: People's United Bank, Capital for Change, Windsor Federal, and M&T Bank. Thank you very much for viewing this webinar. I'm Kimberly Parsons Whitaker. My contact information is on this slide, and I invite you to visit our website, ctmainstreet.org. Thank you.